Appreciate all of you hanging out with us. Wednesday edition of the program. And it is officially the eve of the return of the NFL. There were a lot of people over the past several months who told you that today would never arrive, that the NFL was not going to be able to play, that there was no point in even attempting to play any sports in the rest of 2020. And here we are rolling on into the return of the NFL. And basically, everybody out there is playing except for the idiots in the Big Ten and the Pac-12, which I'm sure we're going to get to. But I want to start off today's program with some basic facts that I think are not receiving enough attention and reasons why we should be incredibly excited about the return of the NFL and also the trajectory that we are on right now as a country. First of all, remember when everybody was saying, oh, there's no way the NFL is going to be able to play because they're not in a bubble. Remember all the bubble talk we had? Oh, the only way you can play sports now is in a bubble. If you're the NBA or you're the NHL, Major League Baseball, they're idiots. Oh, there's no way Major League Baseball is going to be able to play in the stadiums, and there's no way that the NFL is going to be able to play. Well, the NFL they announced yesterday, 44,510 player tests in the past week. One positive out of 44,510 player tests. The coronavirus in general is collapsing everywhere. If you look at the numbers that we had yesterday, just 22,000 new cases reported today. That's the fewest since June the 15th. Hospitalizations and deaths continuing to plummet too. We are near a low of all time since the coronavirus outbreak started, with the number of people that are hospitalized with the coronavirus. The number of deaths are plummeting in Florida. Arizona's basically non-existent. All of the places that the media has tried to terrify you in, all of them are absolutely collapsing. And even on college campuses, there have been around 26,000 reported positive cases on college campuses all over the country. Of those 26,000, not one kid has actually been reportedly hospitalized. We're talking about 1,200 plus at Alabama, nearly 800 at Georgia, nearly over 750 at the University of Kentucky, Ohio State over 1,000, Dayton has over 1,000, Iowa has over 1,000. I mean, all these different schools, South Carolina with over 1,000, James Madison with over 1,000, University of North Carolina, Auburn, all of them, over 26,000 positive cases on college campuses. Not one college kid hospitalized with the coronavirus. All of these things are militating in favor of one answer, which is lockdown shouldn't be existing anywhere. Everybody should be able to go back to normal life, with the possible exception of nursing homes, which is where the vast majority of deaths are occurring and have occurred since the coronavirus outbreak began. If you're 50 or younger, you're under more danger driving to and from work. This is all important data that everyone should know, and it stands as the current situation on the ground as football is poised to return for the NFL. And I think the stupidity of the Big Ten and the Pac-12 continues to grow. The conference that has made the most sense so far in college sports in terms of handling things is the SEC. They aren't scheduled to return until September 26th. They've been able to outwait the initial spike that occurred when college kids returned to campus, and things are rapidly getting better all over the SEC states as we get ready for the NFL. But tomorrow, mark my words, when the Big Ten fans and the Pac-12 fans are sitting back and they're watching not just the Kansas City Chiefs play in the NFL, but the Kansas City Chiefs play in the NFL with fans present is going to be yet another day where everybody sits back and says, what were we thinking? What was Kevin Warren thinking? What was Larry Scott thinking? Everyone is finding a way to play in all of sports with the exception of the Big Ten and the Pac-12. Last night, we got a couple of different NBA results. The Lakers win. I mean, I'm telling you, there's no reason to worry about the series against the Rockets. The NBA is not going to allow the Lakers to lose because if LeBron James loses, nobody watches the NBA, and the NBA is desperate because their ratings are collapsing, and so LeBron and the Lakers are going to advance to play against Kawhi and the Clippers in what is effectively the NBA championship. Giannis loses. All the drama surrounding Giannis will be about whether or not he wants to stay in Milwaukee or not. The Milwaukee Bucks walk out and basically stage a ridiculous walkout boycott in the NBA over Jacob Blake, a guy who was wanted for felony sexual assault, resisted arrest, was armed, and they acted like he was some sort of martyr. And then they lost their focus, and they got whipped by the Miami Heat, who are now 8-1 in the playoffs. The Heat advance to the NBA Finals, but the lack of focus from the Milwaukee Bucks, I think, pretty self-evident. They were fortunate to win Game 4. They got whipped in that series. Now we'll see whether Jimmy Butler and company can advance to the NBA Finals with the expectation that the Celtics will be on the other side there, and we'll have Miami against Boston, I think, most likely in the Eastern Conference to go against the Clippers and the Lakers on the other side. But I want to bring in the crew. I hope all of you guys are having good starts to your Wednesday morning on the eve of the NFL returning. We'll give you all of our picks tomorrow for who we think are going to be in the Super Bowl. By the way, I imagine some of you got caught up in this last night. A lot of people drafting for their fantasy football leagues. CBS Sports Fantasy Football just completely shut down effectively yesterday, and you would have never thought there's a nerd riot on the internet over people unable to actually complete their fantasy football draft. I was one of them, and it was amazing to watch all the reactions rolling through on social media. Danny G, eve of the NFL return. This show has been pretty straightforward. Hey, by the way, we believe everything's going to be good. We believe we're going to be able to play. A lot of people got this wrong. We didn't. Are you as excited as you normally are for the return of the NFL?
Hell yeah, and then some because of everything you just laid out. And yeah, we are definitely a very pro football show here and college football show on Outkick. So beyond excited. NFL has always been my favorite sport since I was a little kid. My kindergarten picture, I'm wearing a football shirt. So like your son Lincoln and your other kids who love football, that's what I feel like. I feel like a little kid ready for the first Raiders game of the season.
Do you feel like it is sneaking up on a lot of people because of the lack of the preseason? I know we a lot of times ridicule the NFL preseason because it seems like it lasts forever. But it's a huge advertisement for the fact that the NFL is coming back. And it feels like in many ways tomorrow it's going to suddenly be like, oh, wow, the NFL is here. Even more so because major college football, and I know we've had games, but major college football is not really starting until Saturday with the Big 12 and the ACC back. And so as we inch closer and closer to major college football coming back and with the NFL tomorrow, I feel like it's going to land and surprise a lot of people how rapidly it's back.
Yeah, I was one of the handful of people who actually watched Hard Knocks, so it's not...
Yeah, nobody watched that this year.
It's not sneaking up on me, but you pointed this out last week and a little bit the other day, that preseason actually kind of sets the appetizer for us as far as getting a feeling of the rookies and undrafted free agents and
storylines.
Who's on the bubble, right? Who might be that Austin Eckler for your team that's going to come out of nowhere and get a starting spot on the squad. And when you have a feeling for how each team at least looks like they're gelling together or how they might be able to start the season off, then that kind of influences people's picks a little bit. So this is interesting. When we all pick the divisions and the wildcard teams tomorrow, we really don't have a feel for anything because we didn't see any preseason games.
Dub, what about you? When the NFL officially kicks off, I know you're a college football fan. Is this not going to make the Big Ten and the Pac-12 continue to look even more ridiculous? Same thing, and I know they've been a few games that are having to get moved around with the Big 12 and some of their opponents and whatnot, but the Big 12 and the ACC kicking off this weekend, I feel like that double-barreled kind of punch to the gut is going to be really difficult for Big Ten and Pac-12 fans to see.
Yeah, it's going to be even more difficult when there's fans on national television tomorrow night. And like you said yesterday, this is a football show, and I think everybody on the show, I think it's safe to say, enjoys the sport of football a lot. I know I do. I had my first fantasy draft last night. That was kind of when it really set in for me, doing a fantasy draft. And I cannot wait for tomorrow night. I cannot wait for this weekend. Football is back, and I love it.
One bit of news, by the way, and it's bad news if you're a Denver Bronco fan, that happened last night. Von Miller out for, it appears, the season with sort of a freakish injury that he had occur. Obviously, that is a major loss for the Bronco defense and for the Bronco team overall. The reason why I'm thinking about it is because freakish injuries are such a huge part, a danger of fantasy football drafts. You wait till the last possible minute and think, okay, there's no way anybody's going to get hurt right now unless it happens in a game almost. And then because most of the stuff that's going on is kind of walkthroughs at this point to get you ready for the start of the season. But there, the Von Miller injury happened. Eddie Garcia, what's the latest, by the way, in the world of hockey? I think we're down to 4 teams remaining there. But when tomorrow happens and we have the NFL kicking off, we're going to have a cornucopia of sports the likes of which we've never seen.
Yeah, the NHL is down to its final 4, so you've got the conference finals going on. 3 games have been played so far, and frankly, none of the 3 games have been that good, so the conference finals aren't off to a great start. But hopefully, and I have no rooting interest in this, if Vegas and Tampa Bay can meet in the final, that would be a really great matchup. So hopefully that'll happen. But as far as football for me, I'm a little bit like Jason Whitlock in that my school, Fresno State, is not going to be playing, so that's a major bummer for me.
Yep.
But I am very excited, of course, about the NFL, although I do have to admit, I did find out this morning that my Steelers are not playing until Monday. I thought they were playing on Sunday against the Giants, so they're actually the first game of the doubleheader on Monday night. So I'll be ready for it, but I actually won't be watching my favorite team on Sunday. So it'll be a football-free weekend as far as my favorite teams go.
Yeah, the Titans are my favorite team. They're the very last team to play. They'll be the doubleheader, so the second game on Monday Night Football. I'm already dreading trying to stay up for that game, honestly, because the doubleheader day on Monday Night Football, while I enjoy it, the Broncos, who we just mentioned, lost Von Miller, will be playing against the Titans, and that'll be the very last game that'll theoretically be taking place. I mean, again, I'm just blown away that the NFL can have, I think it was 44,510 tests, and just have 1 positive. If we had had that discussion about how many positives there would be from the coronavirus going into the start of the NFL season, I think the over-under for the final test being 1, I think everybody would have been like, that's the most ludicrous number we've ever seen set. And yet that's the result. I mean, it's pretty extraordinary. What about you, Roberto? How pumped are you for the return of football tomorrow?
Super stoked, man. I knew this time would come. Even during the peak of the coronavirus, people were like, oh, what's going to happen when football comes around? Football's nothing phases football, man. The NFL's king. I knew it was going to happen. Excited to watch Henry Ruggs, man. Can't wait to see if he's as good or could be as good as Tyreek Hill, what the Raiders need. Super stoked to watch football, man. Definitely excited.
When we come back, I'm going to open up phone lines. We haven't opened up phone lines yet this week, 877-996-6369. It's rare we talk video games on this program, but I hate when I see stupidity and basically bending over backwards to try to make woke losers happy. That's what happened in the Madden franchise with what they've done with Colin Kaepernick. They're including him in the game. I'm curious, video game players out there, how ridiculous do you think this is? 877-996-6369. I'll give you some of the details when we come back about why I think football potentially is still walking a fine line over this ridiculous embrace of the far left-wing woke community. I'll explain.